cool. So Alex O'Connor has asked, how do you pick the right single to release from an EP album?
Okay, so last week we talked about singles versus EPs versus albums and how I'm a fan of singles because you can get so much mileage out of them. I think when it comes to which single you pick or which song you pick, I mean, there's a big bunch of questions that immediately spring to mind. I think as a band, there's certain songs that you'll write that you'll know because you'll feel like it's the strongest song. But it leads me on to a similar question or a slight detour, which is when you're writing songs, how you're writing songs and what you're writing songs for. And something that crops up quite a lot when I go and see bands perform live and when I see bands putting an album together. Are you writing a song for the first song in the set? Are you writing a song that you want to be the first song on the album? Because lots of bands will get together, they'll jam, they'll write songs, and they'll end up with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 songs, and they'll make an EP or they'll make an album. And I think one thing that's really important is imagine if you are writing a song with the specific aim of putting it first in the set. Because I was with a band yesterday and at Oceans, and I was chatting to them about their set because I went to see a live gig for them, and I was saying, you know, when you play a live gig, sometimes you are the main act and everyone's there to see you, but sometimes you're a support act. You never know what you're going to play. And lots of people, when you can play any gig, when you're an unsigned band, people won't have seen you before. So for me, the first 1 minute, the first 90 seconds of that gig, in fact the first 5 seconds, is the most important time, and I want it to be a massive punch in the face. And what bands tend to do is they tend to have this come with me on a journey and we're going to get there and wait for it, here's the payoff. And I don't subscribe to that. And I think if you're Muse, you can do that because people are traveling from all over the country or world to come and see you, and that last song is the big payoff. Whereas when you are an unsigned band, you don't have that luxury, so everything is instant. It's got to be so much more instantaneousness. And so therefore, when it comes to your album, when it comes to releasing a single, when it comes to the first song of your set, I actually would think about getting together and writing something specific for that. And the way I would do that is, when it comes to all of those 3 questions, I would ask, how can you sum up your entire band, your entire project, everything in the first 30 seconds? Because people will make those decisions about your band, whether they like it, whether they don't, whether they want to come and see you, whether they don't. They'll make that so quickly. They won't wait for 5 minutes to make that decision. And so when it comes to an album, how it starts, you've got to hit someone right in the face. When you do a gig, your first song has to hit people right in the face. And therefore, if you're picking your first single off an album, if it's your first album, second album, third album, it's the same thing. Once you get to your 3rd single or your 4th single, you can say, right, we've done the hard work now. The next thing to do is start to kind of get into a flow and release more singles. But the first one has to be a massive punch in the face. It's a free swing at bat, essentially. So I would say when it comes to picking your single, pick something which defines you and defines your band the most and the quickest, so you're not having to wait for that payoff. But I would say when it comes to releasing songs off an album, I think from working with bands, usually there's a standout track once you've got it. Once you've got your album or your EP done, usually there's a standout track that you just think, oh, what a winner that is. And you're probably going to want to work with that first. But I think bands in general should be thinking of more instantaneous wins and not letting their audience wait for too long. So I think if you're writing an EP right now, then have one of the, have a time set aside that you can actually get together specifically to write an opening track. And that means, what's that opening riff going to do? What's the first verse? What's the subject matter of the song? And you're designing the entire song with the spec of first track on the album.